And what I thought he meant by this was that he wanted me to ask Jordan if Jordan would play on one of my songs, and then I could say, this song features Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater, and it would be great, like, publicity for my music or something.
Yeah.
And so he set up a meeting for us so we could have a chat. And so I asked Jordan this, and he goes, well, I guess that would be fun, but actually I was here to ask you if you would be interested in singing on my album.
A burst of wind when you open up the door, and the chills, the coldest you've ever.
A bit more in the moment, you know.
That's true. I'm sometimes, well, often way too perfectionistic. I want everything right, and
I know the feeling.
I should not do that. You were right. We should be in the moment. So, speaking about in the moment, how are you doing?
Really good, thank you. I'm having a lovely time in the Netherlands. I love it here. Every time I come, I wish I actually lived here. Everything seems to work better than it does in the UK. Sorry, UK, but the Dutch have got it sussed now.
That's a good compliment for the Dutch. I can assure you, the Netherlands is far from perfect.
Yeah. Well.
For those of you watching, well, you know the title of the video, of course, but I'm sitting here with Mr.
Joe Payne.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have a chance to finally meet you in person.
Yeah, same.
I mean, I've been following you ever since I picked up your name with regards to the Jordan Rudess album. We'll get to that later on. But first, you are here for, well, you have a great shirt on, of course, the Prog Proms.
Yeah, I wore this especially for you.
Thank you.
Just to make sure that we had everything in context.
Definitely. It's very important. It's an amazing concept, of course. You had your first show yesterday. How was it?
It was great. There was a wonderful audience. It was in Viet at Debussy. I think you say it like that?
The Bossuil.
De Bossuil?
Yeah.
Sorry, you'll have to forgive me. I don't know how to pronounce it. Lovely venue. Loved the venue. I had a nice wander around the town as well. Really, really beautiful town. The show went great.
Yeah.
I was a bit nervous about some of the lyrics because some of the Yes lyrics are a bit of they get me tongue-tied. But we got through it, and to be honest, it was just a great show.
Yeah.
If tonight's show goes as well as last night's, I'll be happy.
You mentioned Yes. What songs did you sing?
So we're just doing one Yes song together.
Yeah.
Which is Hold On. And there's a really, really tricky section in the middle where John Anderson really made it hard for us. So, there's four singers doing it at once, doing all the harmonies, and none of us know what he means. It's impossible to make sense of the meaning behind the lyrics, I'm afraid. But I think that was always probably his intention.
I think so, yeah. I mean, It is John Anderson, so... But did you do any other songs as well?
Yeah, so we even did a Jordan Rudess song.
Okay.
So when I was first invited to do this, it was after I was seen performing with him at Cruise to the Edge.
Yeah.
And that's when the promoter reached out and said, we normally have Damien Wilson, but he can't make it this year, so we're looking for someone to take his place, and we'd love it to be you. Would you be up for it? And I said, well, I mean, sounds like I get to have Christmas in Amsterdam, so let's do it. You know.
You already had plans to come to the Netherlands?
No, I just came for this. But because Christmas is a funny time of year, it made more sense to travel and do the rehearsal before Christmas. And then I just had a few days of leisure to enjoy myself. And as I said before, I love it here.
Yeah.
So I had a great time, you know, having a few days over the Christmas period to relax and unwind.
Yeah, well, before you came here, you had your own Christmas show.
Yes, I did, yeah. So I made a Christmas album a couple of years ago. And I did it just for fun. But I really enjoyed making it. I'm really happy with the songs on it. I think it was a really good thing to do, to practice just enjoying my work rather than taking any of it too seriously. Because in progressive rock, of course, it's very easy to start taking yourself a bit too seriously if you're trying to be a bit more advanced in the delivery of stuff. So it was a really good exercise in just having fun, and I love that record so much. So if anyone needs some Christmas music, please look up that Joe Payne Ding Dong is what it's called.
I've been listening to it this afternoon.
Have you?
I have. I have.
Do you have a favorite song on that?
I haven't heard the entire album. I was just listening a bit through the work the music that you did by yourself. I had not had the chance to listen to it, so I was a bit curious. So I just looked it up. Unfortunately, it was available on streaming, so I could listen to it. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. It didn't feel in a way like a Christmas album, but it really felt like a fun album, like a lot of fun music, and and it is quite different from progressive rock, and that was the thing. I mean, I just told you before, when you came on my radar, it was because of the Jordan Rudess album. I didn't know you before that, so my initial thought was like, wow, okay, hey, he's on a progressive rock album, never heard of him before. Would he be known to progressive rock before? And then I did look a little bit up, and it's like, oh, he does very much. Because I found out you've been singing with the Enid for about 5 years.
Yeah, from 2011 until 2016.
Yeah.
I was the front man of the Enid, doing all the singing, along with my partner Max Reed, who left the band when I left the band, but he would do all the choral vocals on the Enid stuff with me, and he still produces all my solo work now. So the Christmas album and my latest album, Brendan Circuses, that's all Max helping me produce that. Yeah, so we make a really good team.
Prior to 2011, how much did you know about progressive rock music?
I'd never even heard of it.
So how did you end up with Enid then?
So I was a studio client of theirs. They ran a studio called The Lodge Recording Studio, and it's historically it had some really interesting artists come through. So they had Kim Wilde. She recorded We're the Kids in America there. That's probably the most famous one, but there was also Katrina and the Waves, and lots of big acts throughout the 80s, and it's still going now. The studio's still going strong. And I was a studio client of theirs back in 2009. And then I guess people form relationships that way, and they needed singers for a project they were doing, so I said I'd love to do that, and they paid me in studio time as well, which was really useful to me because I was already trying to make records myself anyway. And yeah, then I guess they heard my voice and decided I should be the lead singer. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you did a couple of albums with them. I saw a couple of videos on your website from the shows, which was really impressive. And a small confession: as much as I love prog, there are still several bands that I know by name, but I never heard any of the music, and the Enid is one of them. Yeah. That's why I never made any connections to it. So I've been listening to some albums that you were singing on it, and I gotta be honest, I'm really enjoying that. So
thank you.
I might revisit that a little bit more. But the same goes with your solo work. I mean, I'm listening to it, and despite that, it's obviously not prog. It's obviously quite a different vibe to it. I really enjoyed it, but what I did pick up on the albums that you made is that there's a lot of symphonic elements in it, orchestral elements in it. It reminded me a little bit Queen.
Yeah.
That kind of thing I got from your music.
I mean, the thing is, I grew up with more of a classical background, and also a theatrical background as well. So I spent most of my childhood on stage doing musical theatre, and all of my music lessons were classical lessons as well. So learning the piano, that was all classical, and like later in life, I've had a bit of opera training for my voice as well to give it that wider tone that I like to use.
Yeah.
So classical music influences me a lot. I'm no expert when it comes to who the greatest composers are and what their greatest works are by any means, but I think when I imagine music and come up with my compositions, I very much have that sound in mind for it.
When you're asleep, they may show you aerial views of the ground, Friday in slumber, empty of sounds.
You mentioned your voice a little bit. I mean, that is one of the things I noticed, especially when I was listening to the album from Jordan Rudess. Like it's like really high.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, I think it was on your website, 5 octaves.
Yeah.
Now I'm not known about those kind of things, but I think that's special. That's not everybody has that.
No, it's crazy, and I guess I've learned how to better control that range over the years as well. I guess I just love to challenge my limits, and if I think that that's the highest note I can sing, then I'm gonna try and find a way to sing a higher one, right. And it just stretches and stretches, and I think my low range has become stronger and stronger over the years as well. But it's just as well that I can reach these notes because they need me to belt some pretty tough stuff in the prog prom set. Like I think Toto might be the trickiest one. We're doing Home of the Brave, and it's very intense. It requires a lot of stamina.
It's quite a challenge to do this, the prog proms. Is it outside your comfort zone?
Well, I mean, most of the time I'm singing my own music or original music I've worked with other people on. So, if you make a record with someone, you spend so much time exploring the way you're going to sing it. You might even find ways of adapting it to make it suit your voice better. And if you're just going to cover a song and you want to do it in the original key and it's all like the same, it doesn't give you that flexibility to find it, So yeah, but I'd like to think there's nothing I can't sing, and I like to approach everything with that mindset, because otherwise we're saying we can't do something before we know if we can,
That's a very good mindset, definitely. Well, and it gets you some places like here, which is nice. one thing I noticed is that by the time you left the Enid, and I think by then you started to bring out your own solo work, I think, and according to your discography, so if I'm wrong, it's all from your side, but the first song you released, and I have to get a peek here on my cheat sheet, was I Need a Change. And when I looked at the song titles from that first album you made, I got a feeling that it's kind of a real personal song, real personal album.
I mean, I was very mentally ill at the time. I was suffering with depression and anxiety, and you know, you're never really free from that when it hits you the first time. You know, it's probably never going to go away completely. Although I'm very happy at this moment in time, so I'll keep it that way if I can. But that album was very much me getting my feelings out, you know. And there's a lot of songs on that album that I'm quite happy to leave in the past, even though it's still quite a recent past. The album only came out like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But if I listen to that record now, I think, wow, I can barely remember the person that I was when I wrote that music,
so a lot has changed.
Because it's dark. It's dark music.
Yeah.
And these days, I like to approach everything with a lot more humor. I try to kind of, whether it's funny to other people or not, I like to make myself laugh, at least.
I think that's very good. I mean, laughter, they always say laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're happy in how you're delivering something, then the people at the receiving end will be happier too, and it conducts into the audience, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's contagious.
Yeah, definitely. Well, especially looking at your latest album, Bread and Circuses, which came out last year. I definitely hear that. I gotta say, I've been listening to that, and when it was done, I hit play again.
Great.
It's a really beautiful album. I should get myself a physical copy. I mean, the music I love, I want to have on CD or LP or whatever, but at least physical. I mean,
well, we have some with us today on the merch stand. They asked me to bring some, so if you need a CD, you can always talk to them.
All right.
They're out of my hands now. I've just handed them over.
I think it's good that you were able to bring your own merch here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's probably a lot of people that are not familiar with you. They get a chance to discover your music.
Yeah. Well, hopefully people take an interest.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, the fact that you sang on the Jordan Rudess album, did that like open new doors for you, or?
Well, I mean, I've had a great year. I wouldn't be here doing prog proms if it wasn't for this record, I suppose, because I guess it was from doing Cruise to the Edge that the opportunity came up. So it's all it's definitely doing me some good. I mean, what I really hope is that we get to tour it together at some point. Of course, Jordan's very busy right now doing the Dream Theatre World Tour. Yeah. I can't imagine how exhausting that must be. But I know that he would love to perform this music together.
Yeah.
And I know Darby Todd, the drummer, who I work with in other ways as well. We have a really good friendship.
Okay.
So I know that all three of us can't wait to get on the road and perform this music live. So I guess we just have to watch this space. Really.
Yeah, I hope so.
Just wait and see when.
If it ever happens, I really hope you guys won't come to the Netherlands, of course.
I hope so.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Well, the one thing I've been curious about all the time, but I didn't want to start with it, is, of course, I mean, how did you end up singing with Jordan Rudess?
I mean, it was crazy because I didn't expect him to ask me to make this record.
Yeah.
And what happened was you must know Roy Uden from Prog Report.
Yeah.
And he was already aware of me and my voice and my music, and he'd very generously helped me to promote some of my solo work. Despite me not being a massive name or anything, he seemed to believe in what I was doing. And he one day said to me, "Hey Joe, I think you've got one of the greatest voices in the world, and I'm mates with Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater, and I think he's just the greatest keyboard player in the world. And if you two were to do a collaboration, I think it would just be incredible." And what I thought he meant by this was that he wanted me to ask Jordan if Jordan would play on one of my songs, and then I could say, "This song features Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater," and it would be great, publicity for my music or something.
Yeah.
And so he set up a meeting for us so we could have a chat. And so I asked Jordan this, and he goes, "Well, I guess that would be fun, but actually I was here to ask you if you would be interested in singing on my album." Okay. And I was like, "What?" And my head exploded with shock, Yeah. And of course I said yes. And what a fantastic result.
Yeah.
It turned out to be.
Definitely, yeah. Okay. Oh no! Wow. That's a great story.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure I could tell it better.
No, but that you both had the intention of asking the other one.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. Oh wow.
But I think we both think about music in a very similar way. We share a common language, and I think it's because of that shared classical background.
Yeah.
Of course, he was a Juilliard student, a Juilliard protege, in fact. So his understanding of music far exceeds mine. But I think we hear stuff in a very similar way, and it meant that when he provided me with the demos, I was able to interpret them in a way that he felt was sensitive to his compositions.
Yeah.
And I don't think he has always found it that easy with other singers. So I think I really surprised him actually with how much I was able to understand where he was coming from with this music. So I'm very I'm quite proud of that, to know that he was just so open and so flattering to me in everything I did with it,
Yeah. Okay.
So that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. And during the whole process, I mean, at what point did you join in? Was the album already written or not yet? And
he had written a lot of it.
Yeah.
When he approached me about it, and I wasn't responsible for writing the songs.
Yeah.
In any way.
Yeah.
He wrote the songs. He wrote the melodies. His daughter Ari wrote the lyrics, and the only kind of creative contribution, I guess, that came from me was the vocal arrangements for the backing vocals.
Yeah.
So he let me slip a lot of counter melodies in there as well as harmonies, and fortunately, because I can read music and things, I was able to really make sure that I was on point with matching his harmony and everything. So he was, like I say, he was very open to my approach, and he had no problem with me putting my stamp on everything. But they're very much his songs.
Yeah.
They're very much his songs.
Yeah, well, I think in the end result is really good. And I mean, when I was listening to the album, your voice really stood out for me. That was one of the things that I noticed from the moment I put it on. So as much as I think Jordan Rudess is indeed, you know, one of the greatest keyboard players and an amazing musician, you surprised me the most on the album.
Oh,
so.
well, thank you. Well, I mean, you already knew that Jordan was wonderful at what he does.
Yeah.
So I guess you knew you were going to get something great by it having his name on it.
Yeah. Although I got to be honest, I mostly knew his Dream Theater music. That's more the kind of things I listened. I didn't know he had a lot of solo work out there. I didn't really listen to it.
Yeah, he's released
but
so many albums.
All kind of different things. But what I noticed about this one, and that's I think the reason I was not planning to do a review of the album, but I got a chance to listen to a promo copy. And when I started listening to it, I was curious. I was like, okay, it's a new one. Let's listen to it. And one of the things besides your voice that struck me was that this was an actual prog rock album. And I figured he hadn't done that really like this. So that's why I think, okay, this album is really something special. And that's why I decided, okay, I'm going to do a review of this one because this is incredible music. People need to hear about that. So and then again, the fact that I did that review is why we're sitting here together now. So
here we are.
It's funny how life works. Going back to your solo work, there's something I'm always curious about. Is do you have a kind of a process or a certain way how you compose your music?
I write most of my songs walking the dog.
Okay, that's a process.
It's when I'm walking and I'm relaxed and I'm just taking in the world around me. And that's when my best ideas come to me. And then it's just a matter of sitting at the piano and making sense of the thoughts I have. You know, but when I imagine an idea, I usually imagine the melody, the lyrical hooks, and like the harmonic structure of it all comes together as one really strong idea. And if it's not all those things together, then it might not be worth playing with, you know. And so I hate writing music the way that I will have done like years ago with other bands where they go, we want to play these chords and we've come up with the structure of the song already and we just need you to like stick a vocal on top. I hate that. That is not how songwriting should work, in my opinion. The melody comes first and everything should grow from that.
I always find it interesting to hear how people compose their music, because there are a lot of different ideas. Some start with lyrics, some start with music, and all these things. I remember the last interview I did in November was with a British band called also Eden, and they were selling that they were doing did a song, I think 2 songs, but one of them didn't have words yet. They were just singing it and they were kind of making up words as long as the song didn't have a title. And later on, when we sat down to chat, they said that, you know, they were just going to try it out and see how it felt like. And I kind of like that idea. To test the water first and then see how it goes and let the song develop from there.
I mean, like I say, like I find the hook will come with the melodic idea. But when it comes to filling out the rest of the song, whatever meaning you might think that hook has at the start, as it develops, that meaning can completely change based on how you fill in the gaps. So those verses, I might have a few little lines that I think sound really strong, and then it's finding meaning in those to connect the whole song together. So a hook in the verse that I might have might seem to have nothing to do with the hook in the chorus until I find those bridges. So you're building bridges to bring relevance to all the things in the song. That's another thing I have to do. You know, build the bridges.